running? Why are you running?
The world itself is on my side.
Hi, I'm Riv. I've hit top 40 in Overwatch and I've just hit GM in Marvel Rivals with an 80% win rate. I've been playing mainly Iron Fist and Psylocke, but I absolutely adore the silly guy. I've seen this guy absolutely ruin low elo lobbies, but I really never see him in high elo at all. I'd like to change that, and that's why I've written almost 3,000 words just yapping about him. I'm first gonna go over all his abilities one by one and be as in-depth as possible while including little tricks I haven't seen anyone else talking about. Then I'll go over how I actually approach fights and handle his weaknesses into good players. Finally, I'll go over all his matchups so you have an idea of how to approach them. Let's talk about his movement first. He has 3 air jumps, which start recharging once you land on the ground or start wall riding. His wall ride allows you to infinitely stay and climb on walls, and if you combine these two, it becomes completely trivial to access any high ground. You can even get to the skybox of maps in some places. As you are a melee flank character, you always want to abuse this to close the gap on enemies without them seeing you. Your goal is always to be run above the enemy and then jump on them from above or behind. For his wall ride, something that people seem to miss is that his movement input actually matters a lot. Say you jump on a wall and hold space and move forward, you'll start wall riding in the angle you're looking. Like, it'll make sense, it's intuitive. But if you're using a movement input besides forward, then your wall ride will prioritize that. Say you have a wall on your right, and then you move forwards and to the right, you'll actually start moving backwards on the wall. Because the wall is treating it as if you were looking directly at the wall and going to the right. This can result in you wall riding out of control if you're not careful. Once you're on the wall, you can hold forward to ascend the wall, or hold nothing besides space if you want to stay on the same height. Now, what does he need all this movement for? His melee primary attack. Once you are in a 6 meter range from an enemy, you can dash to them with an attack at any time. This is shown by the yellow indicator on the target. Iron Fist will always do a 6-part melee combo, of which the last attack deals more damage and kicks people away. His attacks allow him to also stay in the air, which is part of why you could just keep chasing flying characters forever. You're just not gonna fall. It's important to note though, you can still move around slightly while attacking someone, which will make it a lot harder for them to hit you. So always keep using your movement keys even if you're dashing at someone. His block is by far the most ability in this kit, and why I can even see him being viable in the high elos. It doesn't just block abilities you're looking at, it blocks everything and anything for an entire second. You are completely immune to any direction, to any status debuff, any damage at all. And after the block is over, you gain shield health based on how much damage you actually blocked, which makes you even harder to kill if you blocked correctly. After you use your block for that 1 second or less, you gain empowered attacks. These attacks are shown by the yellow bar around your cursor. These attacks behave completely differently than your normal attacks. Do not get tricked. The first big difference is that your dashing range increases from 6 to 11 meters. It means you can be 11 meters away from someone and still be able to dash to them. The second is that you can make small 3-meter dashes even if you're not actually looking at anyone. Your damage is increased by a lot, and you're able to hit multiple targets. It's an area damage ability. There are, however, actual downsides to this ability compared to your normal primary fire. You don't just want to spam this. You're able to dash to enemies less often, and you won't actually stay in the air while punching. This can allow them to dash or fly away even if you have increased range. The other downside is that your damage doesn't really come from the dashes, but the punches afterwards. So what you actually want to do is try and stay in melee range so that you only dash once, and then you can just keep on punching without ever having to dash again. If you keep walking away or if they keep running, you keep having to dash again, which loses you a lot of damage. After your empowered attacks are over, which is, shown by the yellow bars being empty, your normal attacks will reduce the cooldown of block by 1 second every time you hit someone. This means you can actually decide to stay in fights if you think that in a few attacks you can get your block back up, which will sustain you through the fight again. His second most versatile ability is his kick. Iron Fist flies in the direction, kicks someone, and then deals area damage around him. The area damage deals more damage on low health targets, so it's ideal to wait until enemies are about half health and then finish them off with a kick for the surprise burst damage. You can also aim downwards if you want to reduce the distance you travel, so even if you miss, you can still hit them with area damage and continue to chase them. Because of the third-person camera in this game, it's actually a lot easier to hit enemies if you aim on their right side than their left side. So when you want to hit it, don't aim center of mass, but aim slightly to the right of that. If you want to get the most distance, you actually have to look up at about 45 degrees. As you can see here, going straight forward, you don't go that far. Going straight up, you actually go pretty far, but it takes you a while. Going about in the middle actually makes you go really far while having a lot of momentum. This is because at the end of your dash, you will actually retain a lot of momentum going forward. So if you aim up, you can abuse that momentum. That said, if you double jump after the dash, it will completely cancel out the momentum. So be careful with that. If you meditate and heal over your full HP, you gain 50 extra shield health that actually stays permanently until you take damage. You can just activate this out of spawn between every fight. Just always do it, because it just effectively makes you a 300 health character. It's really free, it's really easy to do, just always make sure you do that before any fight. Finally, we have his ult, which is thankfully relatively simple. He gains his empowered attacks for the entire duration, and increased range, and increased damage, and a 3-second cooldown on block, which is the real overpoweredness of his ult. Because even if you get 300 health, right? If you ult, all the enemies are gonna look at you, and you're still 300 health. You're just gonna die instantly. So what you actually want to do is the moment people start turning around, use your block. Fight for a little bit, dodge a little bit, and then 3 seconds later, you have your block again. And you keep doing this, keep getting shields, keep blocking stuff, and you're just keeping the enemy busy so they don't get to kill anyone, while your team can just bash on them from behind. And if they're not looking at you at all, then yeah, sure, just, hold down primary fire and win the fight. Now onto my mindset and playstyle, how I approach these fights. Iron Fist can function both as an assassin or a budget dive tank, and you should always swap between them flexibly depending on the situation. Generally, before fights, I'll always set up on a high ground or a flank route where I can scout the enemy backline with the third-person camera. I'll search for isolated targets, but if I can't find any, then I'll go for backline heroes, preferably supports. The isolated targets are generally pretty easy to kill because you're one of the best duelists in the game. There's a few exceptions, which I'll go over later, but you love 1v1s. If you're not 1v1ing, your damage is never going to be high enough to outdamage healing, so that's why you need to focus the support, because they can't heal themselves. That said, when you jump onto a backline, don't blow your entire load. That's how low elo Iron Fists go in, that's how they die, that's how they get stuck. You need to learn to play safer, know when to go out, and keep your cooldowns defensively as well. You have a block and you have a kick, and both of them can be used offensively and to escape. So look at where you are. Do you think, oh, I can easily get out here if I just jump and then Wallride and then I'm behind cover, right? That's great. Then you can just use your block, use your kick to get those kill those people. But if it's an open area and people are probably going to turn around to peel for their teammates, then just keep your kick to jump out the moment they attack you. Or keep your block the moment they're about to CC you, right? Which actually will allow you to stay longer in the fight if you want to. So be very flexible with them. They're not purely defensive. They're not purely offensive. Use them flexibly and stop holding M1 because it'll just force you to keep going in. You have to get out at some point. So your gameplay loop is going to look like this. You're going to go in, you're going to attack someone, you're going to see whether you can kill them or not. And if you can't kill them, you try to attract as much attention and then get out alive, which is really important. Even if you don't get a kill, it's still time spent that all your enemies are looking at you and not at your team. This allows your team to get a lot of free kills, get a lot of space, and make it a lot easier. The biggest part is that you get out alive so that it doesn't actually cost your team that much. The higher you go, the more teams will peel for each other, turn back, and protect each other. So I'm very content with just hit and runs without even getting a kill. Go in, make their team turn around, and try again later, right? This all depends heavily on both your and enemy team, as well as the map. You thrive on more closed maps with flank rounds like the Spider Islands, and having other flankers or divers on your team allows you to play way differently. And you don't even need to talk with them. Just time your engages based on what they seem to be doing. If your Black Panther or Venom seems to be going in, jump after him, finish off his targets, and clean the fight after that. That said, even if you don't have a dive team, you can still play him, but you need to focus on your timing. Even if your team is a full poke team, you want to make sure to go in when they're actually there, when they're actually fighting, when they're taking up enemy attention. If your team is all the way in the back, if they can't do anything, the enemies all get to turn around the moment you show up. 6v1, you die, and your team is gonna flame you. What you want to be doing is make sure that your team can provide that pressure so that when you attack, the enemies turn around for you, your team shoots them in the back. Or they keep shooting at your team since your team is at pressure to them, and then you get to kill the enemies, right? Either way, it's a win-win as long as you're ready to adapt. They look at you, you chill, you run, you get out. They look at your team, you kill someone. Either way, you get a lot of value. So in summary, time your aggression based on what your team is doing, adapt to what they're doing, adapt to what the enemy team does to you, how they react to you, and I mean, if there's isolated targets, almost always go for them besides like a few duelists or tanks. Which I'll actually go over now. The matchups. For Vanguards, Iron Fist can actually do a lot of damage to them in a 1v1, but he's usually not gonna win a straight up 1v1 because of their just insane tankiness. So what you're probably gonna do is you're gonna punch them a lot, then get out with your superior mobility, meditate, and then you can see if you want to get back in and fight them. There's generally lower threat, but you still have to be careful because they can burst you down at times. So Doctor Strange and Magneto are two of the interesting ones because you can just punch through their shields. They can hold them up way, like, fun, but you can just punch through them and kill them. It's not a big issue. The issue is they're usually going to be shielding their team, and their team is all going to be shooting at you, and you're not tanky enough to take on an entire team. So careful in the team fight, but in 1v1, it's great. Their ults are also amazing for you because it's really easy for you to reactively block their ults. Unlike Groot. Groot's ult can really fuck you up, and even if you have the 1 second block, it's gonna run out and enemies are just gonna maul you afterwards. Really be careful of his ult and try to dodge it. Groot also has good poke, and his walls are really annoying for you to get to his team, so be very careful against him. Venom is actually a pretty decent matchup for Iron Fist because Venom doesn't really deal enough damage if he doesn't land all his headshots. And you have a lot of tools to dodge his shots. So you could just go into him, deal a lot of damage, and just make his life a living hell. It's great. Thor and Hulk are actually two characters you really want to be careful with because they are the ones that can just outdamage you. They can just smack you in the face and kill you. And you have to be ready to get out and meditate and see if you can go in and get it later. His biggest counter in the tank role is gonna be Penny, though. I think people have probably already noticed this, seen this. The nest of mines and drones really fucks you up because you can't really kill it, and you have to get in there to kill enemies. Or do you? I mean, honestly, yes, sometimes you do, but search for targets that aren't in the Penny mines, and search for targets that are near Penny, because her CC is gonna kill you and is really hard to reactively block. That said though, if you do have to go in the nest, jump right on top of the nest, wait half a second, and then use your block, so you can tank all the mines and all the drones in the field and clear it out in one go. That way it's way easier for your team to get in there as well, and you now have a lot of bonus health to work with. Also, Penny is actually quite weak in the 1v1 compared to other tanks, so yes, you can pummel her to death. For Duelists, Iron Fist usually wins the 1v1, or it's a skill matchup. But most matchups will obliterate him at range, or when both parties are getting healed because of his low range and DPS. Black Panther still gets and consumes his rend marks on Iron Fist even when you block. So blocking isn't enough. You need to try to actively dodge his dashes and spears with your double jumps and wall rides and kick. Once he misses a single shift, a single dash, he's done for. You can chase him. He's a free kill. Black Widow and Hawkeye are great diving targets once you get onto them, as they have no real escape. You're going to be easily pummeling them. What you need to be careful though with Hawkeye is that he can one-shot you. So I like using block before the fight, so I can use my empowered attacks and kick to immediately execute him before he can even charge his bow enough to kill me. Hela is a very dangerous matchup because she can 2-tap you at both ranges, and she has a stun to make it even easier. So if she's good, you might just have to ignore her as much as you can, or pummel her if your team is helping you. Like, she's incredibly high priority. She's just broken, really. She's incredibly high priority, but also really hard to deal with. So be very careful with her. Iron Man, you've seen the clips. You can easily chase him in the air. It's really fun. It's really enjoyable. But in high elo, people will be healing him. He will be near his backline. His backline gets the easiest heals of their life on him. And you're just going to die slowly as you try to kill him, and he melts you. He is kind of a bait pick, so be very careful whether he's getting peeled or not. If he's not getting peeled, great, go kill him. If he is getting peeled, genuinely just look for someone else to kill. Look for one of the supports probably to kill, right? Because then there's less healing that the support could get. Magic has a lot of in-combat sustain, so make sure you dodge her imp and her dash knockup thing so that you can actually outstat her. Like, it's gonna be a fight of who has the better stats. As long as you dodge those, you win the stat fight. Moon Knight can't really escape you ever. His escape is really bad. And when he puts down the Ankh for his big burst combo, you could just block, tank everything, and then just kill him while being really tanky. Moon Knight should be pretty free for you. Namor is one of your hardest counters, as you can't dodge his turrets. You can't really kill his turrets. His bubble just makes him impossible to kill while he can get healed. So try and avoid him. Try and wait until he has used his bubble, then get on him. It's a hard matchup. You have to be very careful, and hopefully you have someone in your team to coordinate with if you are diving him. Try to search for flankers or someone on the sideline instead if you can. Psylocke is very much a skill matchup, and people get really good at her, as she is also just really good when people are good. The biggest thing is, though, you need to try and dodge her one-shot combo. She is going to blow you up, blow anyone up with like 250 health. So you need to try and block that combo, and if you do, you're going to be fine. You're probably going to be able to kill her. She might be able to dash away, but you're not going to lose it. But you have to be very careful first. By the way, the one-shot combo is usually 2 left-click hits, a right-click, and then a dash melee, that kind of thing. Just be on the lookout for the right-click. Try to dodge it with your block. Usually, you're going to have to try and predict it, and then you can beat her up. She is very winnable for you. Scarlet Witch, well, she's just really bad. You both just smack people in the face, and you just kind of win. Like, you should never really have to be scared of her. The only thing is that she can stall for a long time with her double fade ability. So be ready to give up on her once people start healing her. Spider-Man is usually too mobile for you to catch, even if you saw the clip of me earlier. But in a straight 1v1, you will beat him if you block his amazing combo, the one where he dashes at you after he webs you. But he's going to be able to run away, so don't get attached to trying to chase a Spider-Man. It's usually just going to waste your time. Make his life hard if he gets near you, and then switch targets once he's running away. He's going to be useless for a while. That's fine. So what usually ends up happening is we ignore each other. I do my thing, he does his thing. I sometimes try to annoy him. Squirrel Girl is actually interesting because she's a pretty weak pick in general. But her root, it's so easy to hit on you because, like, when you're dashing into her. So you really have to block that or out damage it. If you don't block it, then she can root you. She can reset the root and root you again, and it's a free kill for her team. You actually have to be very careful of fighting her, but if she used the root, then it should be a mostly free kill. Star-Lord is what people think the Iron Man matchup is. He's flying, you can always chase him, he doesn't have enough damage to kill you, and he's probably going to be way further away from his backline, so it's going to be harder for them to peel for him. He's a great matchup for you, but you do have to be careful that he's... that he just beams you down. It kind of depends on the aim of the startup player, right? If he's with his team, it's still going to be hard to kill him, but if he's on an off angle, it's the most free kill. Make sure to focus him and see how it goes. Storm, same as Iron Man. Just Exact same, except she's worse. At least right now. Punisher is actually interesting because he does have more health and his shotgun can one-shot you. So if you see him pull it out, run. Just run, wait till he pulls out the other gun, then go in again, right? You have to be incredibly careful of the shotgun, or at least block it if you want to fight him. You also won't be able to contend with his turret if you're solo, so only go on him if you think you can escape if he's in his turret. If he's in his turret, only go on him if you think he can escape, or if you think it's gonna run out, or if your team is actually here to help you. Otherwise, he's just gonna melt you because you just don't have the damage to kill him before he turns around. Winter Soldier or Bucky is actually very killable, pretty squishy, but he can CC lock you with the hook and then the uppercut. So you have to be very careful that he doesn't get that combo off, because with a little bit of damage of his team, you will just die. In a 1v1 though, you should win versus him most of the time. Wolverine is to you what you are to Spider-Man. You're way more mobile, you're way harder to catch, but he will win you if you're just both beating each other up. Don't try and 1v1 him. You can try and attack him a bit, walk away, meditate, attack him a bit repeatedly, but you're not really gonna win in a straight 1v1 at full health. So try and avoid him if you can, and you're gonna do just great. Now, finally, the Strategists. They can heal anyone you try to kill. You do not have the damage to burst through almost anyone's healing. So that's why they will be your first priority, so you can actually get a kill. Adam has 2 self-heals, a heal over time, and a passive that will res him. To be fair, that passive does have a long cooldown, but he's gonna take a long time to kill, and he does have decent damage to kill you. He is worth going for, because you want to get his cooldowns out, so that he can't use them on his team, so his team dies easier. Remember, it's a team game, it's not a 1v1 game. But don't get attached to him. He will probably live, so be ready to run away, have an escape route ready. He's not a guaranteed kill for you. Jeff is the funniest shit ever. In his Finn mode, he self-heals, and his bubbles self-heal. So if he does that, if he stays in Finn, you're never gonna kill him. You could chase him. It's genuinely Looney Tunes. It's so fun. You could just chase him for half a minute, for a minute, and nothing will happen. You won't die, he won't die. Well, unless, either team shows up. But if you think it's worth it to waste his time, then sure, yeah, go for it. If you don't, then just leave it, man. Just go kill someone else. Or kill him when he's not in Finn mode. He might not be ready to take the burst, because your kick also gets a lot easier to land when he's not in his Finn mode. Cloak and Dagger, same as Adam Warlock. They have cooldowns that can, like the self-heal cooldowns and the invisibility cooldown, make it really hard to kill you. Make it really hard for you to kill them. So don't get attached to them. Be ready for the fact that they might escape. It's already good if you get their cooldowns out, because they then can't use it for their team or for your next dive on them. It's worth it to go for them, but have an escape route ready. Loki is a very hard matchup, but you can win it. He can teleport away from you to a clone, he can invis away, or he can put a rune down that's just completely unkillable for you because you're a melee character. What you can do though is, every time he goes invisibility, if you're using your empowered primary attacks, that's an AoE damage, so you'll immediately reveal him the moment he does that. It's a really free kill if he has already used his teleport. And if he has used his teleport, you can usually see where the clone is looking at, and then just follow that with a kick and kill the Loki who's running away over there. But he can't just stand still and pretend that he TP'd. And sometimes it is just worth it to kill the clone, even if it's just to deny his damage and extra healing from the clone. And it might be him. He might be trying to trick you. So honestly, it can be worth sometimes. Luna is actually a pretty good matchup for you, even though she's so strong in general. Her freeze animation is extremely obvious and gives you enough time to block reactively. Just watch what her hands are doing. The moment you see her hands going, ooh, you block, you tank the CC, and then you can just kill her. No problem. Mantis Sleep, however, that's the dangerous one. That one's basically instant, so you're gonna have to predictively block that, or just not fight her at all. But for Luna, her guard is actually really good against you, because once again, your damage is low. So if she has a guard on a duelist or flanker, you're not going to get through that guard healing. So you're probably going to have to look for someone else to kill. And yeah, for Mantis, that's honestly it. You can fight her if she doesn't have sleep. If she does have sleep, you're probably gonna die if you try and dive her anywhere near her teammates. Be very careful. Finally, last hero, Rocket. You could just chase him. He's got a lot of dashes, he's got wall runs, but you can follow that no problem with your primary fire already. He doesn't really have enough... I mean, he can have enough self heals, but it's going to be hard for him to stay alive against you. It's going to be no problem. But what you have to be careful for is his revive station. You can't shoot it from range, just like a penny thing, because you're melee. But it's really worth killing it. So try and find it first before you get any kill, because otherwise that kill's just not gonna matter. It's just gonna revive. So find the revive station, kill it, and then go fight the raccoon. Well, I think I've basically covered everything I could. So let me know if I forgot something, and I'll try to add it, like pin it somewhere or something. And if you'd like me to cover another hero as in depth, let me know. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.